Alcoa's been supporting the Swan Alcoa Landcare project for more than 20 years now. It's one of the longest running partnerships that we have in our portfolio, and it's really important to us because it achieves two key outcomes. One, it's about the environment, and secondly, it's about community volunteers and social cohesion. And for us, that's a real point of difference. Without volunteers, without community members, SALP just wouldn't exist.
Well, I first got involved because my daughter had finished environmental science at Murdoch University, and the idea came up to do a project with City of Bayswater. And Jeremy Marr said, well, this area is pretty neglected. How about we start here? And we did.
We went to a Landcare Open Day back in 2012 and first got interested in what they had to offer, and then from there, we've had a quite long relationship with Landcare since then.
Our group, Swan Estuary Reserves Action Group, we have formed to help to take care of the riverside vegetation that borders the marine park.
Behind me, what there was before was just a straight trapezoidal drain, and very little vegetation, just some weedy trees.
You name a weed and it was in here, so we were charging into that. There was some of the young blokes pulling out peppers and lantana about that big. They were into it, keen and excited, and away we went.
When I first started on this project, you could not see anywhere through here. It was full of Eastern States wattles, blackberries everywhere. Also the Watsonia was really bad, and arum lilies, honeysuckle, other vines like the Pandoria up the trees, choking them. So yes, it's looking very different than it was 4 years ago, particularly in the last year.
Well, we started by looking after the original plants on the site by weeding, and then we did some research with Rottnest Island, and we took cuttings of our healthy samphire species. We found out we had about 4 different species and some other salt marsh plants, and we took cuttings and took them down to a place in Fremantle who helped us to propagate them. And we've had planting days and we've planted them, and as you can see, we've had quite a healthy success rate.
We've planted 10,000 plants in here. I'm hoping at the end of when we finish in here, this will look exactly how it was before the tall ships came.
And the really, really exciting part of this site is that we have a large population of bandicoots. So the main focus with bandicoots is that we need to revegetate a lot of the area so that they have their habitat back.
This is where there are the shallows, and the shallows are the lungs of the river really, and it's so important to keep that part healthy. This is the area to which trans-equatorial migratory birds actually fly all the way from Siberia, and they come here every year. And in October, November, December, we start seeing them arrive. Up to 12 different species come to this area, and not big numbers anymore, but the ones that come, we feel it's so important to look after them.
Each year, from just a relatively small injection of funds from the partners, community members leverage that money by applying for other grants from local governments, from other organisations, to undertake their work. And what they're doing is they're creating environmental benefit. They're also creating great public spaces for everyone to enjoy. There's physical activity involved, there's camaraderie, there's just so many outcomes that SALP produces. It really is a fantastic partnership that benefits so many people.
It's just nice to be outdoors with a really good bunch of like-minded people, and people come for all sorts of reasons. Some come for exercise or because they want a project to get their teeth into. Some come for the morning teas. There's a lot of laughter, a lot of chatting while we work. It's one of those jobs where you can really communicate really well while you're working.
We make a weekend of it when we're planting. So trees are all the equipment's delivered. We invite all our friends, our friends, our kids' friends, anybody who's interested. We make camping available, we feed them for the weekend, we have a big bonfire on Saturday night, and I think the most satisfying thing is watching people discover it's actually a lot of fun instead of thinking it was going to be really hard work, and then to hear them come back year after year and then be looking for their trees. You know, where are the trees? Where are my trees? Where are the trees I planted?
Well, one of the great things we're doing is we're restoring native animal habitat, and because we're here so often and we're in the site, we're getting up close and personal, so we're seeing a lot more water birds, and we're seeing a lot of the smaller critters like the invertebrates that you often don't get to see if you're just walking around and not really paying attention.
Within 12 months of having done the project, we had baby turtles. We found baby turtles as we were weeding the site, which was really a real tearjerker, if you like. It was one of the delights of my life. I thought it was a cockroach, and then realised that they were little turtles that were crawling down to the creek.
Oh, it's amazing to see how many different birds we've got there now. We've seen echidnas that we had never seen before. We'd seen evidence of them, but now we've actually seen them for real, which was really exciting.
We're seeing a lot of the buff-banded rails and the ibis. Pelicans sometimes get quite curious and come close. Sometimes when we're down here we see dolphins as well. And we find evidence, we find feathers and birds' eggs, so we know they're actually using the site.
Working in the field allows me to reduce my screen time to the maximum, because usually if I don't work in the field, I'll be in front of the computer writing my essays for like 10 plus hours.
You know, to have the birds singing in the morning at 5 o'clock, it's a beautiful thing to wake up to, and it just makes all the difference to your mental state for the rest of the day.
It's an exciting time going forward because public interest in the whole land care process seems to be growing at more of a younger base, which is where the interest needs to come from. And then because the young people are involved, you can make more and more of an impact as years go on.
I think that it's really important to get the next generation engaged with the environment, because unless they're interested and value it, it's not going to be preserved going into the future. So I think when you break it down and actually give people the opportunity to give back to the environment, that they get a lot of value out of that, because it is this deep-seated anxiety, I feel, particularly in my generation, that we need to do something, you know, about this problem. And yeah, it just really channels that anxiety into something productive, and the end result's always amazing because hectares and hectares of land are just being, you know, revegetated for future generations, which is great.